back to Chairman's Briefing, brought to you this week by Stillwater Critical Minerals. I'm Rachel Lee. Let's get into it. U.S. labor market resilience and solid consumer spending have forced investors to abandon hopes for another 0.5 percentage point rate reduction next month by the U.S. Federal Reserve. While in Canada, the chances of a 0.5 percentage point rate cut by the bank became more likely after it was reported that annual inflation fell to 1.6% in September. In the middle of mixed economic data, gold continued to hold its ground, an indication that there's more underpinning the metal's momentum than any single monetary policy decision. According to the latest intel out of the World Gold Council, North American investors, having missed the early innings of this year's powerful rally, have been leading the rush back into gold-backed exchange-traded funds. Analysts at the World Gold Council noticed that year-to-date flows of North American funds have flipped positive, leaving Europe as the only region with outflows so far in 2024. Meanwhile, Asian funds continued to dominate global year-to-date inflows despite a recent slowdown in demand. Looking at regional demand in September, North American listed funds saw inflows of $1.36 billion, accounting for most of the activity in the marketplace. Investors will be paying close attention to accumulation trends in the months ahead. With geopolitical tensions rising and U.S. influence teetering, foreign central banks, who are sitting on more than $8 trillion in U.S. dollar reserves, might be more inclined to diversify away from the greenback. So inclined that some reserve managers signaled some gold buying ahead of time, which is rarely done. Central bank officials of Mexico, Mongolia, and the Czech Republic said that gold as a percentage of their country's reserves is more likely to increase in the years ahead amid a confluence of growing geopolitical tensions and lower interest rates. Google is looking for net new clean power, according to Michael Terrell, who is Senior Director of Energy and Climate at the company. In a new deal with Kairos Power, the tech heavyweight is backing the construction of a series of small modular reactors and have also agreed to purchase energy once the sites start to supply U.S. grids, which will happen sometime between 2030 and 2035. Cameco is one of the world's top uranium producers, alongside Kazakhstan's Kazatomprom. And its CEO, Tim Gitzel, said in a Bloomberg interview that the company is considering expanding some of its projects as global demand for nuclear power rises. Despite recent volatility in uranium prices, which have fallen 22% from February's record high, Gitzel also said that the demand for nuclear power poses, quote, the best fundamentals I've ever seen for nuclear in my 40-year career. Cameco stock has seen a satisfying and rather steep trajectory ever since Kazatomprom slashed its production target for 2025 back at the end of August. France's Orano is plotting new moves to expand operations as well. The state-controlled company is investing to extend the life of mines in Canada and Kazakhstan while exploring adjacent and more remote areas in those countries, according to CEO Nicholas Mays. Orano is also developing new projects in Mongolia and Uzbekistan while remaining in monitoring mode for potential acquisitions. Orano was dealt a blow earlier this year when the military junta in Niger pulled one of their mining permits. The company's other uranium mine will produce at just 40% capacity this year. This is production that can't be exported out of the landlocked African nation due to persisting geopolitical issues. On the processing front, Orano is looking at boosting its global market share of enrichment services from 12 to 16%, having broken ground on its French facility earlier this year. Now, to further fill that gap in enrichment, as the West seeks to shift its reliance away from Russian supplies, the company is looking at building an enrichment plant in the U.S. only if it can secure government support, regulatory approval, and enough customer commitments. The multi-billion-dollar facility could be built in Tennessee. At 43%, Kremlin-controlled Rosatom is the world's largest enricher of uranium, followed by Urenco, a UK, Dutch, and German group with a 31% share, and China National Nuclear with 13%. Stillwater Critical Minerals has completed a property-wide geophysical airborne survey and created the first ever 3D model of the lower Stillwater igneous complex in Montana, revealing continuous mineralization across 9.5 kilometers. This area already hosts 1.6 billion pounds of nickel, copper, and cobalt, plus 3.8 million ounces of precious metals. Located next to world-class palladium platinum mines, Stillwater West is positioned for expansion. Artemis Gold's Blackwater project is nearly complete and on track for its maiden pour in Q4 despite construction delays. Acknowledged as a Tier 1 gold project and one of the largest in Canada, the mine is expected to crank out 500,000 gold equivalent ounces each year over the next decade, generating annual free cash flow of roughly 500 million Canadian dollars at an all-in sustaining cost of $712 per ounce. Proven and probable reserves at Blackwater currently stand at 8 million ounces of gold and 62.2 million ounces of silver. As with most ambitious projects in this inflationary environment, the project's capex is now expected to run up to 800 million Canadian dollars, roughly 7% higher than previous estimates. The company says delays due to two separate wildfires, which hindered construction, are to blame for the higher price tag. As a result, Artemis has entered an agreement with National Bank of Canada to provide additional standby funding of up to 65 million Canadian dollars. This funding is in addition to the company's existing project loan facility of about 360 million Canadian, as well as a cost overrun facility of 40 million Canadian dollars that was drawn in earlier this month. Founders Metals has been one of the better performers among juniors over the past 12 months, as the company advances its district-scale Tino Gold project in southeastern Suriname with the business end of the drill bit. Along with a recent 20 million bought deal raise, the company inked a deal with B2 Gold for an additional 12.1 million Canadian dollars. B2 Gold is paying $2.75 for each of its 4.4 million shares, giving the producer a 9.9% stake in the Suriname-focused explorer company. Also, the company recently appointed Chris Taylor of Great Bear Resources fame to its board as an independent director. To quote Taylor, "I've been following the Fondo story with interest for several months, as their team has executed a highly technical and successful series of proof of concept and discovery holes at the Tino project. Their methods and successes are reminiscent of the early days at Great Bear, and I'm pleased to be able to lend my experience to their board." Next, buyers can now pick up traceable 1-ounce gold bars exclusively made with Newmont mined gold, refined and minted by MKS PAMP in Switzerland. This product ensures full traceability and transparency of the gold's origin. Available through MKS PAMP, which is the largest U.S. wholesaler, it aims to make gold ownership more accessible to consumers for wealth building. Peter Toth, who is Newmont's Chief Development Officer, emphasized the importance of making gold attainable for consumers, even alongside everyday purchases. Rio Tinto's $6.7 billion buyout of Arcadium will give it a suite of lithium filtration technologies that are poised to revolutionize how the metal is produced for the electronics and electric vehicle industries. Arcadium's expertise is in direct lithium extraction, and this is the real prize for Rio Tinto, according to analysts. It puts it among contention with Eramet, Sunresin, ExxonMobil, and others who are aiming to make the technology commonplace in coming years. Recent laboratory research has provided promising evidence for the feasibility of tapping into superhot, super deep geothermal energy sources. This could yield 5 to 10 times more energy than current commercial geothermal wells. The findings challenge previous skepticism about the viability of accessing such deep resources. Now, this breakthrough could significantly advance the development of superhot rock geothermal energy as a clean, renewable alternative to fossil fuels. And that's all for today. Support the CEO.CA channel by becoming a subscriber, and go that extra mile by turning your bell notifications on here on YouTube. Thanks for being a part of Chairman's. We'll see you next week.